welcome everyone. And I'm happy to finally open our startup summit, funding and beyond. It's interesting, but it's been there in making for quite some time, but it's finally here. We actually had to postpone it 2 times. So it's our third attempt. However funny, it sounds actually first time we had to move it because of the logistical reasons. But the second time is actually we had to move it because of the war. So everyone, you guys know what's happening in Ukraine, and Glorium Technologies, majority of our operations and most of our personnel is located in Ukraine. So we were impacted quite a lot during the first weeks since the war has started. And our operations were impacted, but right now everything is more or less stable. So, but the point is, we had to move like this, second time our summit. But finally, everything is fine. We're back to more or less business as usual, and even we have organized the summit. Everything is going well. All right. So on the what to expect from this summit. I want to give actually the long answer, and together with the answer on why we created the summit and why we're doing all of this. So already, I already had a good introduction on who I am and what company does, but still, so for Glorium, we not only help to develop the digital products, but also when we speak with a lot of startups, a lot of companies, as we help them in their developments, we help with product management, with compliance, with certifications. There are different lines of services that we do in Glorium. We also do the business consulting. We even provide the sometimes at the bridge investments and guidance for the startups to bring them to the next level. And naturally, we hold many conversations with founders, with investors, with product owners, and many of them are actually concerned about the approach the startups take for growth, about how the execution is being organized and being followed. And we naturally engage in a lot of the conversations on how to properly build the company, the culture, how to grow the product, the buying community, where to invest first in order to maintain the highest efficiency. And of course, all of those topics bother a lot of people in the startup world. And this is kind of the things that we deal on day-to-day basis, and we are seeking for this event to uncover. But now you'll say that there are many other conferences on this topic, on the topic of startup development and funding, and you would be absolutely right. And not only that, but I actually enjoy visiting those events and listening to the latest trends. And that's good. So pandemic effects are finally being washed away bit by bit, and we start opening up, and I'm already enjoying visiting some of the events personally, physically. But on majority of those big events that are happening around the world is actually, the problem is twofold. First, the speakers are mostly there to promote, I don't know, I just feel at times to promote the speakers, or to promote their products, or to promote themselves, rather than to deliver a value to the crowd. And they also mostly speak on the very high level topics that have very distant relation to the needs of the actors in the startup world, to the people that actually are doing the business on the day-to-day basis and building the digital products. And also those events, I just know that now anywhere you go, anytime you talk, with the startups, they all focus on the problem of raising the funding and all related activities. Basically, majority of them concentrate around the topic on how to get money fast and easy. But after actually the record funding rounds, that happened last year in 2021, it appears that the startup world is actually significantly shifting the interest from how to get money to how to better spend them. And so getting money is no difficult task anymore. With the proper operation, with the proper preparation, and the good plan, a decent plan, you're almost guaranteed to get funded. I will just throw in some numbers, but according to Crunchbase, over the course of 12 months in 2021, just in the US alone, only in the United States, investors put almost $330 billion into the startups across all of the stages. And that's actually the number itself, the absolute number is not that much often. Well, of course, it's interesting. It's a huge, but what's interesting is the dynamic of it. This is actually an increase by 92% over the year of 2020 levels. And the 2020 itself was almost double from the year 2019. And more than that, but the trend looks like the trend actually continues and continues, the dynamic continues, because the year ended on a very high note as well, with fourth quarter investment actually totaling almost $89 billion across all of the stages, making it actually the spendiest quarter of the year in the entire history. Okay, so with all those massive investments poured into the tech startups, now it's a logical question that we have actually the series of logical questions that comes into light. How this money is being spent? Where do they go? It's a massive amount of money, and what is the expected outcome from all of this? Will the trend continue? And well, the answer very much depends on the outcome of those record investments. So, as I said, right now, the focus actually has shifted more towards the question on how to properly spend all of those massive resources to achieve the highest efficiency, because so much will depend on this. So, understanding all of this, all of those trends, and all of those questions that are popping up, we sat down with our marketing team and decided to organize this kind of event with a little bit of a different focus than what I am observing in the rest of their market around startup development. Number one, we are looking to get the information from the startup players, from the startup players to the startup players. Basically, the actual information that the startup players really need. And number two, we focus on what happens after you receive the money, not before, not how you receive the money, but what happens after you receive the money. Basically, how do you proper spend them? How do you answer all of those interesting questions on the execution? And as I mentioned, we decided to organize a conference with where the actual people involved in the startup business on a day-to-day basis will deliver their views, share their opinion and experience and knowledge straight from the trenches. So from those that really are in this business and have the first-hand experience. So we're hoping to get a real actionable advice from those who have already been there and done that. And as I said, as we are shifting the focus on what happens after you get funded, basically now what? We understand that that majority, of course, the majority of the founders and product owners have their vision, and the investors have agreed to fund this vision, maybe, of course, with some preliminary results, but will it really play just by throwing money at it? Growing is not an easy task. People stumble a lot along the way. So where to allocate the funds? To build the product, to invest in people, build an aggressive marketing presence, hire the salespeople with best corporate connections, what expectations to build for the investors, And on the other side, what investors should expect from the startups that they have funded, because both taking the money from outside and giving money is a great responsibility. So founders naturally actually grow nervous about how to properly spend those money. So basically, those are the topics that we decided to uncover, and those topics that and to ask actually those that have already been there to provide their actionable and specific advice. Another actually important aspect of this summit is that it's absolutely free. It costs nothing, absolutely nothing to anyone. None of the registrants paid the money. None of the speakers received the money, and nobody paid a dime to be here. The entire event infrastructure and organization has been provided by our company, Glorium Technologies, and our goal is to have a commercially unbiased environment, honest opinions, and candid desire of the industry professionals to share their knowledge and experience. Okay, so actually I have a few minutes left. So getting back to the startup market, I just wanted to share with you a couple of my thoughts on where we are now, and kind of just to set the stage for our wonderful speakers. So kind of a statement on the trend, opportunity, and challenges. So as for the trends and where we are now, I think it's an absolutely incredible situation we have found ourselves in. After a long period of testing the VC model, it proved to be working. You know that VC model takes its roots back in in 80s, I believe, somewhere from them, and it was growing very slowly. But right now, in the last 2 years in a row, the investors went actually big, went huge into it. We saw they doubled down with each year, in year 20 and in year 21, and knowing that previously before the year 2019, actually the industry, the VC industry, it was growing at only 4% annually average, or year over year, and now we are seeing it doubling down on 2 years in a row. Pretty interesting. And but the industry is, of course, with such a big dynamics, with such a big growth, and still after a lot of years of testing before that, all of the startup model, the industry itself is still being, is still shaping itself. And there is a lot of dynamic, there is a lot of moving elements, but still such an influx of resources and attention, it actually has allowed us to build a real startup model that drives innovation, and it does produce the results. And of course, the ultimate beneficiaries are almost everyone across all of the industries. Okay, so it brings actually the question now, so if everything is so great, so what's the case in this market, and are there any challenges? And definitely, as with each and every industry, each and every area, there are definitely challenges here that we are observing in tech. And and I think we will observe, those are the biggest that we'll observe during the next year. And again, this is my humble opinion, so there can be other things, but in my opinion, number one is actually, yes, a lot of resources are pouring in, but the market saturation is the inevitable outcome from all of this. And we actually were seeing the market saturation at its highest level that we have seen before. And it will bring more challenges during the upcoming year to both the newcomers and to the existing players. And it's because it is easier than ever to start a company, not only start a company, but to receive a funding. And many tech players will face increasingly fierce competition. And this is definitely good for the industries, for all of the industries. And we do, because of that, expect more of new and better products or improvements to the existing ones. But all of this will come at a very high price to the founders. So this is something for everyone for all of the founders to think about, especially for those that are starting starting from the beginning. So more failures, of course, are inevitable. But as we all understand, this is the part of the game. Okay. So number two, actually, there is the number two challenge, and it kind of consists of two, is the shortage of the resources that are being consumed by the high-tech market. What's interesting that the high-tech market actually consumes two types of the resources, and in both of them we have problem. Number one, it's a labor shortage. High-tech market is very labor intense, and now everyone is hunting, to get the best people, to get the the best additions for their teams, and but it's much more difficult than ever before to get the proper people. Everyone knows about this great resignation. So I think this labor shortage will bring a real threat to the existing product development, to the sales, to the marketing, to the support activities everywhere. So this increasing VC funding created a stunning demand for tech professionals, for sales professionals, marketing professionals, product professionals, for many of them. And I think this problem is here with us to stay, not only during this year, but during the next year. So everyone in startup world has to think twice about their approach to the human resources, about staffing their people needs. And actually, we at Glorium, we know this problem beforehand. We have more of the orders, we have more of, I would say, of the sales than we can cover. We're always constantly battling with bringing more of the good people on board. And number two, the resource number two, to the resource shortage is the chip shortage. So in order for tech to run, in order for all of the applications and everything to run, you need the hardware, and this is another big problem that we're facing. So that also has to be taken into account, and everyone knows that this chip shortage is also with us to stay for at least 1 or 2 years as predicted. So we'll see how we'll be able to overcome it. Okay, but there are, of course, more challenges than that. But in my opinion, those are the biggest that tech players will have to fight during the next years. And of course, each industry, healthcare, real estate, fintech, and blah, blah, all of the industries will have their own industry specific challenges. So on the other side, opportunities are endless. Everyone wants to go digital, and there is a huge demand in the new technologies, in the new software, new products, and so the opportunities are there. So I think I do hope to see lots of improvements coming during the coming year, and a lot of new products solving the real problems to appear in the market during the next year. Okay, and but what I do hope is that our wonderful speakers will be able to make much more detailed and precise outlook into this market, to explain how things are related to each other, how to grow properly your business, how to scale. So basically, I am really excited to hear what they have prepared.